Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining Archangel Alts. We're going to start here in just a second. Sorry for the slight delay. Had to get everything set up. YouTube was doing its crazy thing again. So we're ready now, and we should be able to begin. So thank you so much for joining our live webinar. We'll get started in just a second. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to Archangel Alts, where we accelerate cryptocurrencies everywhere. My name is Kakashi and I'm here with my partner and freedom fighter, Gordon Freeman.
Hello, hello, hello.
Everyone ready to rock and roll today, learn a little bit about cryptocurrency and why you need to get involved? Getting a bunch of responses here in the chat. Lots of ones. Great, cool. Yeses, yeehaws. Okay, looks like some Southern folks perhaps in the chat here right now. It's good. All right. Well, go ahead and shout out where you're from in the chat. We're going to just be monitoring chat, but we will not be making that part of the recording. And we'll get started here. We'll take questions kind of throughout the chat experience, and then at the very end, we'll just stay on to answer any questions. But we want to go ahead and really focus on these slides here. So the big concepts we're hoping to cover in our webinar today. Listen, we want you to know what cryptocurrency is. You probably already have some idea if you're here on the webinar, or at least curiosity. That's great. We also want to answer the few primary points why you should even care. And then how to get started with cryptocurrency, the fundamentals of trading, some of the secrets there that we've kind of unlocked, the rules, the principles, pitfalls to avoid. Gordon trades at about 17 hours a day on average, and still to this day is hitting a 98.7% trade accuracy. Dude, that's incredible. Really, just amazing. And then, so there's some pitfalls here that we can help you to avoid and kind of help you on your own cryptocurrency growth journey. And then we want to talk about that journey, what we call the EGC, unprecedented opportunity. What is it? Why you should get involved? So the big reason, we've kind of covered the big concepts there, but the big reason, Gordon, why don't you tell us why now more than ever we need to be involved in this exploding movement?
Absolutely. So first of all, the information right here on the screen is excellent, so I'll use that as a lead-in. Money must be trusted in order to be stable. With fiat currencies of major governments being less trusted each day, the financial system is primed for disruption. Boy, is it. And blockchain technology as applied to a financial ledger gives birth to a whole new level of transparency and credibility to this new currency, making it easily the most trusted credit of all time ever, period. And I will add to that, we'll get back around to this too, but that it's something that as we're looking at its ability to be traded on exchanges, like you would think of stocks, it is being called an entirely new asset class. And that's something that just really and truly does not ever come along in a person's generation. It's such an opportunity. That window opportunity time is just so precious. I'm going to give you just kind of a top 5 from a list that is almost impossible to keep under 20 because things are happening every day. But number one big reason, Bitcoin is based on cryptography that has a proven working model for exactly 1 decade, with Bitcoin being the most well-known, the largest traded cryptocurrency. That model for the actual encryption has never failed in that time. Number 2, at its peak end from 2017 into 2018, the cryptocurrency market secretly reached a value of over $560 billion, and 95% of the world still had never heard of Bitcoin.
That's impressive. That's amazing.
It is. It's amazing. I had to go digging to find that kind of information myself when I was learning about market capitalization. And when I say secretly,
there's something like 10,000 new like crypto wallets being opened every day now.
Right. It is. The acceleration is incredible. Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of those are, sometimes it's somebody who is opening up something new because their assets are growing and they're learning how to trade new items. But for the most part, almost all of that is new activity. People buying their first $100 of something. It's pretty amazing. Next point, JP Morgan, whose leadership has been adamantly outspoken against Bitcoin, now embraces the technology, will be using blockchain for their own transactions in the trillions of dollars using their own coin. Next big point, Starbucks, Microsoft, the head of the ICE, or the Intercontinental Exchange, I believe if I had that right, which is the parent company to the New York Stock Exchange, a little mom and pop chain you probably heard of. They are all primary investors of a cryptocurrency trade platform expected to be approved in coming months. In fact, I just saw today that they have raised, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, I think I am, another $700 billion. So,
Wow,
just,
that's incredible.
you know,
700 billion.
pulling up some change, a little bit of coffee making change, a little bit of Microsoft software change.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're really close to $1 trillion at that point. That's
Right.
insane.
And the next one, Kroger has announced they are firing Visa, and this will be in April, to no longer accept payments because of their high transaction fees. But they are openly considering accepting payments in Bitcoin. So it's just one of those major examples out there. And I think you mentioned we had seen an article where Visa is trying to respond back by saying, "Hey, we're working on some of our own blockchain technology."
Yeah, I mean, and it's really smart. They're kind of seeing the writing on the wall and recognizing that now is the time. Like, if you these big institutions, J.P. Morgan, Visa, they resisted. They talked against blockchain and against well, not blockchain specifically, but against cryptocurrency for years, and now they're jumping on board. And so, what that tells me is that if the biggest players in the financial system are jumping onto cryptocurrency, then that's because they see its viability, and if they don't become a part of it, they're going to lose a competitive edge, which is something that Visa certainly doesn't want to do.
Absolutely, which also I think is an indication that there are so many different comparisons, especially with it being technology based, of the internet bubble bust. And so many people, if they were around that and they survived that, it's the Googles and the Facebooks and the Twitters and you name it, Apple, Amazon, that came out of that. But if you were before that, people really didn't know the capacity or the growth of the internet, and there were investors putting tens of, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into companies that went bust. But we've kind of gone beyond that. These things, as they cycle through, they have an acceleration to them. It may have been a 10-year process the first time. The next time around, it's a 7-year process. I think that Bitcoin has survived that. And now when you start to see the investment companies and the banks willing to say, yes, we're adopting this technology, they kind of can't afford to be wrong about it at that point. You're going to move beyond to the next step.
Absolutely. And even in the .com, there were major winners like Amazon.
Right. That little bookstore thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so don't throw out the baby with the bathwater is the bottom line. Yeah, with every new technology, there's going to be some issues and failed attempts and things like that. But you mentioned in a previous conversation that to date, not a single problem has been found with blockchain.
Right. They from its inception, from the original white paper to all the different progressions, people have had accounts hacked. They clicked, just like if you opened up a bank account and you clicked on a false link in an email, there have been hacks like that. People have been able to find very clever little loopholes and things to take advantage of stuff. But the actual technology, it's usually the teams who are, constantly updating the code, trying to make things faster, cheaper, handle more transactions. They usually find the what ifs. There's been little things, that can lead to things that they call like a double spend, things that are all technological things. There's never been a situation where there just was no blockchain. There's never been a situation where, oh my gosh, there's 700 billion Bitcoins instead of the, the set scarcity. 21 million is the most that there will ever be. Nobody's figured out how to not mine and pretend like they're mining. So there's, there will always be those technical things to watch out for as they're upgraded and becoming more sophisticated. But there has never been a fail, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's just remarkable, truly. Because currency has to be trusted, and so if it doesn't fail, then that is a major win, and that's really the heart of what we're building here in trading cryptocurrency. Now, guys, if you're here on the call, this is for you. If you don't know a thing about cryptocurrency, okay, you're in the right place. Just be sure of that. We've used some big words already. That's okay. Don't worry about it. You're in the right place. You're going to pick up on those terms as we keep going. If you don't know anything about trading, any of the basic principles, it's okay. Neither did we when we first started. And because cryptocurrency is so new and its own class asset now in the trade markets, it is a totally different beast than most conventional trading assets anyways. So you're in good company. Welcome. Absolutely. And really, if you don't have any extra cash, we welcome you here as well. There's ways you can earn altcoin, cryptocurrencies. Steam it would be one, but there's plenty of others, and we'll make those available in our group chat sessions in our own private, we use a Slack channel. So in our private Slacks, join us there. We're happy to share with you some of the ways you can kind of earn some of your own altcoin. Now, listen, you're also in the right place. If you want to just improve yourself, learn some valuable skills, diversify your own portfolio, if you will, you want to stay abreast of cryptocurrency developments. Gordon spends a lot of time every day watching the market. And so he brings that market insight to bear in our Slack chats as well as on our YouTube channel. And then also, if you are just simply looking to leave a lasting legacy by ushering in the next era of currency, then you're in the right place. Welcome. We love having you here. Now, on the flip side, this webinar really is not for you if you don't want to do any work. Anything worthwhile in life just requires hard work. I mentioned a moment ago, Gordon works 17 plus hours every single day. And he's been doing that for the better part of over a year. His clock's somewhere around 8,500 hours trading. It is intense work. Now, it doesn't have to be, but because we live, breathe, eat, sleep this stuff, we want to help make your journey a little bit easier by reducing your workload. But still, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, okay?
Right.
This is perhaps a make a lot of money faster than any other investment idea out there kind of plan, but certainly it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. And seriously, we really don't want you here. If you have a high opinion of yourself, you think you're better than other people, this webinar is not going to serve you very well. If you want to make money and power to make yourself more prestigious or to hurt other people especially, or at the expense of other people, we don't want you here. Okay, we really believe that all of the gifts that we're given and opportunities that we're served are a chance to be able to serve other people.
Absolutely.
And so that's our heart, right, Gordon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just harp on that a lot. I mean, everything that we learn, every tool, technology could be used for bad, evil purposes, could be used for good. And it's very, very important, guys, that anything you pick up on this webinar, we want you to use it to make your lives, the lives of those around you better, okay? Yep. And then we don't want you here if you have too much skepticism, okay? If you don't have an open mind and you're not willing to learn something new, then this is going to be a total waste of your time. There's nothing that we're going to say on this webinar that's going to make you believe in a better future. You have to come into every day hoping, building, believing a better tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well said.
So if that describes any of you here, please, well, we really mean it. We want you guys to leave now. All right. We take this very seriously, and we don't want you watering down the experience for any of the other well-meaning members on the webinar. So final housekeeping detail here, Gordon. I think this is your wheelhouse right here, just to kind of do some qualifiers.
Sure, absolutely. And just, on the point that you're making there too, that's cryptocurrency doesn't know good or evil, just like regular money. And so a lot of people, I know that I've been interested in stocks and trading for many, 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 many years. But I had this impression that was given from the media that if you make a lot of moves, buys and sells, then you're just one of those horrible greedy capitalists that is writhing his hands saying I'm going to get all the money. But money is a neutral thing. It is it does not know good or evil. But the people that use it, you can use it for good or you can use it for bad. So it's the love of money or the lusting after money that is a bad thing. So we like the idea of the model of being able to take what somebody might work on towards their life to try to save, and we are looking to accelerate that period of time that you can increase much more wealth. But the idea should always be in, what can I do for the others around me and for my community if I am successful that way. So it's just a very meaningful point that you're bringing up. So yeah, as far as the housekeeping, we are not certified professional champions of financial advice and cryptocurrency details. There's no golden plaque on the wall. The truth of the matter is that yes, Bitcoin has been around for a decade, and it has definitely gone through waves of the people that have come and gone. It has, whittled down the true believers and the people that really understand it and here for the long haul. So, things are really picking up in the sector, but there is no such thing as a cryptocurrency expert. It's just not a thing that exists. So just like in the same way, if we were teaching you to trade stocks or anything else, you take that information, do with it what you will. It's your choice. It's your responsibility. We are here to entertain you, but also to educate you. So I guess you would say edutainment. But, so do your own research, make your own decisions. We cannot be responsible for any trade decisions that you make, but we are excited to be here and help educate and to entertain. And I always kind of feel like saying afterwards that, I find it very entertaining to make money. So, we are doing exactly what we've learned how to do.
Kind of entertainment.
And I think that, they say the School of Hard Knocks, we have literally, in the thousands of positions that we've worked on, we have tested every model. We've tried every position, tested everything, worked out a process and a system that works for us. And we're seeing just in the early stages, it seems to really work well for other people too. So, but it does come with high risk. There's no question. Just like, the internet could blow up tomorrow and everybody would be saying, oh my gosh, what do we do now? But, so at your own risk, folks. But we do hope that you'll join us and be a part of this journey.
And that word of advice from Gordon's spot on, as our own legendary leader and trader here at Archangel Alts. Once again, I'm Kagashi, the business development leader, and Kuma is not on the call, but shout out to Kuma for keeping our blockchain straight. Helping to pull the numbers and make sure that what we're sharing is accurate. And talking about that, we do want to go ahead and kind of show you some of those numbers here as we talk through our own journey.
Excellent. Yeah, so just giving, we're going to do a very accelerated version of this, but just my research in global economics goes back, it's coming up on a decade now. Am I really old enough for that to be that long? But just, really seeing a lot of the trends that have become the cryptocurrency market the signs were there before the connection was even made to Bitcoin. And resolving a lot of world problems, technical issues, things that people that were really smart were projecting would eventually fail in banking and even in digital currency, like, concepts like PayPal and other things of that nature. And so, there was a little bit of family interest that kind of led to some more research. Of course, we followed, Bitcoin going from a penny to $1 to $10 to $100 was pretty impressive. But people really perked up just like we did in the 2017, 2018. When it reached almost $20,000. It was at $19-something thousand, and watched it go from 6 to 8 to 12 to 16, going up and up and up. But just really did not know whether there was anything legitimate out there for the actual trading of these currencies. People could find ways to buy them and store them in their digital wallets. But until really the Binance Exchange just kind of blew up and accelerated the onboarding that, a lot of people were afraid to get into exchanges. We tested out just, lots of different ones and found that Binance just was rock solid, and they've only improved in that time. Their history is very short as well. Like I said, there's no absolute experts. It's in process. That's where we are right now. But that window is going to close so quickly. So working the process over and over and over, hundreds of times, we found that not only were we good enough to get through a few trades and understand the process, but we were doing incredibly well. And we did not actually take our first loss until the 1,170th trade. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, and it actually wasn't a loss. We actually decided to just pay the fees and zero it out because we were sure it wasn't going to do what we needed it to do. As you see on the screen, no formal training, it's just the School of Hard Knocks, just doing this over and over again. Obviously studied every video that's out there and just finding that some of the things that we're doing, you take a little bit of good information and test it out. Learning, of course, that, fundamental analysis and technical analysis are both very important. But we found that our own way of managing the very fast pace, breakneck speed changes that happen in crypto was the rule of fifths and the principle of thirds. And then also working with those two at the rate of circulation. And so, a kind of proof of that model is we kind of had to learn how to do this very quickly as, that Bitcoin was dropping down from 19K and going down and down. We were able to survive, first of all, when the market went down about 60%. And it shook loose a lot of people that were just like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? Because everybody's assumptions was everything was going to go sky high. It was going to go 10x, 100x, everything. Then the market came down another 50% from that point. And then one more time, it came down another 60%. So there's a lot of assets that are at negative 90%, but they still have very strong teams. And they're still doing millions of dollars of fundraising. And we're starting to see that recovery period for the very first time. So it's very, very exciting. They talk about, going from a bear market to a bull run. Don't know if it's right around the corner or not, but we are definitely seeing something that's establishing as low as it's likely to go. So there's a lot of enthusiasm that, Bitcoin could still go down some. But the question of whether it's going to go up in the doubles or triples or way, way, way more than that is there's almost no question about it at this point.
It's certainly in a longer term equation, it is really undeniable. It's kind of a matter of when.
Right.
And Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and just in surviving the journey there, making progress. You don't want to wait and see whether it's going to be 2 months or a year. Surviving the process and building the growth in that time. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely, and knowing how to build that. And what we're showing on the screen here are 12,000, a little over 12,000 distinct trades that were part of the better part of 2018 here. For transparency, we're closer to 20,000 trades under our belt at this point.
Right.
But yeah, just for transparency to show you guys, yes, we do have this kind of accuracy in our trade cycles. Happy to share the Excel spreadsheets with you if you want to look at them.
Right, absolutely. In fact, when we decided that we were going to go through this process and not just continue to do it quietly, below the radar, that was the very first thing we decided to do, is just go ahead and, it's like, if anybody wants to know, where we're coming from or our reputation, let's just print it out. Here's all of our sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And even going a step further, if you want to see Gordon make these trades real live time, just watch him on his YouTube channel. Okay, catch the live streams. There's a few there that are public facing. You don't have to be a member. And you can see those happen real time. If you join the private group, become a member, you can see him do it several times a day. Insane.
Right.
So we're close to 100% accuracy since 2018's started.
Right.
All right, guys. So what is cryptocurrency and why should you care? We've talked about this a little bit already. So I just mostly want to address blockchain at this point. Really, blockchain itself is the underlying technology that allows for this verifiable, transparent currency that is also not trackable to a person. So that's why we say it's cryptocurrency. It's secret in terms of its user identity, which is good because when a user's identity is exposed, as we know with Cambridge Analytica and all these other privacy scandals that have happened, then the underlying infrastructure for that particular platform is compromised. Privacy is extremely important, especially when it comes to money, and that's why cryptocurrency exists. Now, the next thing that you need to know is really kind of how to get started with crypto. And we don't want to dive into this a whole lot right now because we have a couple of bonuses for you at the end that'll help you to get started kind of on your own time, set up your accounts. So the very first thing that you want to do is set up your crypto wallet account. And you can do that in a couple places. Gemini or Coinbase are two really good ones. We're not paid to promote them. We've just found them to be fairly helpful. And what you then want to do is the very first step is really to transfer money from your US dollar bank account into your new crypto wallet and convert it into digital currency. And then from there, open up a Binance account, transfer the funds, and start trading. It's really kind of as simple as the 1, 2, 3 that you see on the screen. We've got some more tips that Gordon, thank you so much that you put those together. The tutorials at the end, those will be part of what we want to share with you to help you get started. Now, Gordon, why don't you talk to us a little bit about the fundamental trading and pitfalls? I think that's why a lot of us are here on the call now, is to hear kind of your insights on what to do in the markets.
Absolutely. So fundamentals of trading, this is where it starts to get exciting. So, from when we were talking about the School of Hard Knocks and just learning this from going along, yes, there are a lot of experts out there in stocks, but crypto is definitely a different animal altogether. So a lot of fundamentals apply. But as we were trading, we realized, first of all, they talk about bull markets and bear markets and, trends that can go on for weeks and months. And we found that, gosh, a lot of these things would happen just, intraday. Things can dramatically change, even, every couple of hours sometimes. So this process and the system that we've developed is something that I just can't imagine somebody accomplishing this kind of growth without being able to apply these. So the rule of fifths and the principle of thirds. The rule of fifths deals with the way that you're managing your money. You're going to start with, obviously everybody thinks of in terms of principle, how much can I invest? And part of our advice there is that if you get good at this and you get moving and you're interested and you continue, you should probably add to it as you go along because you're going to be growing, a steady percentage of those things. But the rule of fifths basically is a 3-layered or 3-tiered system that starts with your trade size based on the amount of circulation of that trade, and then based on the longevity of how long you can keep that going. And as you do this, every once in a while, you're going to have to hold on to something longer than your other trades. And eventually you might, months and months and months into it, eventually hit a point where you might have to decide whether you're going to take a loss on something or not. So we have structured things to where you can always readjust to the rule of fifths to see where are you on your journey, your intervals that you're trying to get through. And as the market goes up, down, left, right, all the different places, you're making wise decisions about being able to track where your growth is. So just as, to kind of give you a relevance there, most likely, if you were very serious about applying these principles, following things exactly the way that we're trying to accomplish them, you would look at starting as small as a $20 trade, and you would want to be able to circulate about $2,500 in order to continuously trade one after another into the hundreds and hundreds of trades with as much as a 95% accuracy, which doesn't really exist anywhere out there. But the rule of fifths will get you through a very long time and a lot of growth by increasing the size of that trade by doing so. And even after a while, what we found is the way that we pick positions, which gets into the principle of thirds, makes it to where your accuracy is a little bit just insanely more than what you see from others. And even those that don't immediately do what you're expecting them to do, we have about an 80% accuracy of all of those long-term hodls or holds as well. So, 98.7% accuracy, we're right usually within a matter of hours, if not a matter of days. If it goes beyond about 2 weeks, then you have to have a system in place for being able to continue to grow as you're waiting for other things to clear. And that principle of thirds is basically, it's dealing with the actual technical analysis trading itself. You look at the charts and the indicators, and there are these just fascinating patterns that develop. I have a little bit of a background in audio sciences, developing my own audio software. So before trading came along, I had, literally thousands and thousands of hours of studying waveforms, visualization of audio, just, literally in creating our own technology. And so there happen to be some very similar naturally occurring patterns that happen with the human nature and psychology of trading that are very similar to what happens in audio. It's just fascinating. So I guess that was a precursor to why we have a little bit of a second nature. The experience is there, just coming from a different field. But you notice that patterns repeat themselves, and it also is a good lesson for where your entries and exits should be, keeping things moving quickly, and also not waiting for longer, riskier moves that crypto tends to shift and leave you hanging. So, and finally, the speed of circulation is probably the easiest thing to explain, but we'll actually give some examples and show the exciting EGC. But we like to, we give examples in days because that's what people, think in terms of breaking time period up. But if you measure things based on an interval, and you're applying your rule of fifths and looking for your positions using principle of thirds, you can kind of have a period of time. I'm trying to get X amount done in a certain period of time and then mark that off the list and move forward. So that's the speed of circulation.
Which I think is where things get really interesting in the EGC. So hold on to your hats, boys and girls.
Absolutely.
It's going to be fun. Yep. So talking about that, let's dive into this unprecedented opportunity, what we call the EGC, or the exponential growth curve. Now, Einstein was humorously asked. No, actually, he was seriously asked. He just had a funny answer to a serious question. He was asked what the most powerful force of the universe is, and he replied compound interest, which was totally unexpected, but extremely true. And that is until, I guess, recently with the EGC. So time to move over Einstein. Although if Einstein were alive today, he would agree, and I think he would be loving the EGC and playing around with it. So basically, it just means that numbers start to exponentially grow at a certain point when you follow a certain model, as we're proposing here with cryptocurrency, okay? Mm-hmm. So it's going to make more sense if I actually show this to you in a spreadsheet. I'm a big spreadsheet guy, love them, very helpful for clarity. And this spreadsheet, we've got it broken down into 12 months, okay? So in each month, of course, we had just used an average of 30 days. So let's say in this month, you invested 1 BTC, 1 Bitcoin. Now that's a relative value, right? It's relative to the dollar. It's relative to other altcoins in the trading market. But it's helpful to think in terms of a Bitcoin on this trading model for consistency. And we've also pegged a $10,000 per Bitcoin average. Now, obviously, Bitcoin right now is at $4,000 a Bitcoin. So that's not true. But there are so many different reports that indicate that it could be 400,000 by the end of the year. It could be 3,000 by the end of the year. But on the longer term scale, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, there's really no doubt in, pretty fair to say, most people's minds. I'm sure there's some fringe people that Bitcoin as a limited commodity will be worth well over $10,000 a Bitcoin. So we always kind of think in terms of a $10,000 Bitcoin unit just to help keep the numbers moving forward, if you will.
Right, because as you'll notice when you get into this, that Bitcoin, one of the clever things they did is that they've made it to where you can buy, very, very, very small micro amounts. Now, you'll lose a lot on fees if you try to do that, but Bitcoin has 8 different units after that decimal point. So, if you're trying to think in terms of, how much is this worth to a dollar? How much is it worth to a euro? Once you get into Bitcoin world, it's much easier to think in terms of, okay, the 1 unit is 10K. And zero point 0.1 is 1,000, and 0.01 is 100. So once you get into that mindset, you're not going to leave Bitcoin world until you are wealthy. That is the goal.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we talked about the rule of fifths and thirds and speed of circulation, and that helps you if you apply them properly. Now, I don't want anyone on this webinar to think that they can just go out and start applying it properly and make lots of money. Okay, that is not the point of this webinar. It's to show what's possible when you follow the rule of fifths, the principle of thirds, consistently well. And we've proven that model, 98.7% over, at this point, about 20,000 trades. And here are the averages, what we've determined. You should be able to trade making 0.005, so a 0.5% growth on each trade. Now, if you take one BTC that you invest and you trade it one time and you make this growth, and then you add that to this and you trade it again, you'll make this growth. And same with this, and same with this. Now, at the end of the day, you've done 4 trades, you've grown each trade on top of the other. So at the end of the day, you would have made 2% return on money in one day. We have a term here for that. What is it, Gordon?
Unprecedented.
Exactly.
Maybe my favorite.
Truly is unprecedented.
Maybe my favorite after EGC.
Exactly. You can't go anywhere and make 2% hardly in a year, much less in one day. Through a money market, even with mutual funds, it's more like 2.5, maybe 3, maybe if you're lucky, 4% for an entire year. But this is 2% in one day. Now, if you take that, and a lot of day traders will take that money, they'll cash it out, and they'll pay themselves on their profit with a profit. So, okay, pay my daily living expenses, $200. Now I make $200 a day. Great. Well, what do you start with the next day?
1 Bitcoin.
Exactly. You're right back to ground zero. So you kind of wasted that time. Now, if there's a way that you can pay yourself some other way, or you make this a hobby and you just do it in the evenings, weekends, mornings, you're not going to grow quite as fast, but you really don't want to dip into your profit because you want to reinvest that the next day. Follow that process through. Follow it through. Trade. Now, there's some fun things that start happening here, okay? You'll notice that at the end of the first month, you will have almost doubled your initial investment. You went from 1 Bitcoin to 1.81 Bitcoin by the end of 30 days. If that was worth $10,000 a Bitcoin, you just made $8,000 in profit. Now, in the second month, you can see it would be worth 3.29. You keep reinvesting it. You keep trading it over and over and over and over. We're 7 months in at this point, 64 Bitcoin, almost 65 off of an initial 1, just traded over and over and over. And you'll notice here it does some crazy stuff by the time you get to the very end of your first year. From 1 Bitcoin, you've gotten 1,281x return. Okay?
And that's what, when you graph this on a chart, it's called the hockey stick. And, we have absolutely seen, we've tested, retested, because, whenever you see this to begin with, you're like, there's no way that could possibly happen. But, there's a reason that even not applying it to something as unprecedented as crypto, there are, some of those whales that are out there that, have personally owned, have earned $1 billion plus. This is that secret that they don't want other people to know. They're not, 10x smarter than the average person. They've just figured out how to apply this to money.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to make this even crazier, okay, let's deal with that principle number 3 that we talked about earlier when we were talking about the trading. Principle number 3, the speed of circulation. If you take that into consideration, here's the fun thing that happens when you start to grow that money. This principle of trading 4 trades a day is really based upon the idea of averages, if you will. You should be able to do about 4 trades a day with 1 Bitcoin in volume and circulation. Now, when you get to 2 Bitcoin, You'll notice this here in month 2. So right now we're about 34, 35 days into our trade cycle. You have a second Bitcoin to play with. Now, if you take that second Bitcoin, now your circulation's even greater. You should be able to do maybe even 8 trades in a day. But for conservative value sake, we've hypothesized 6 trades in a day, okay? Now, just by adding 2 more trades per day, you'll notice you go from 35 days to make twice your money back to about 15 days here to now make yet another Bitcoin. And then once you get to 3 Bitcoin, you're adding another couple trades in per day. It only takes you about 8 or 9 days, okay, to make your 4th Bitcoin. By the time you get to the 3rd month, this is where the numbers become extremely crazy. You'll notice that you're only trading with 4 Bitcoin for 4 days, and then you've made a 5th, and then that for 3 days, and then you've made a 6th here. And then that goes to 7, 8, 9. By the time you get towards the end of your 3rd month, okay, you're about 80 days in, 80, 85, approaching 90 days in. It does some crazy stuff. This is the exponential growth curve we were talking about, but happening much faster because the speed of circulation is coming into play here. You're going from 39 to 52 to 74 to 113, 184, and 335 Bitcoins. Look at that jump from 184 to 335 in a single day. And this is where like my spreadsheet literally like broke at this point. I can't do this math anymore. You can kind of see some of the formula going on up here. I just can't do this math anymore and carry it forward to the rest of the months. So I didn't finish it out for the rest of the months because you get the point. It is crazy what it is doing when you just add in some additional trades in your volume each day. So that's the exponential growth curve, ladies and gentlemen. And it's something that Gordon has proven over and over and over again. But it takes consistency and it takes dedication to really see it through all the way. You can't dip into your profits. You can't miss out on your trade cycles. You really got to put in the time and the work. But it is truly unprecedented in its opportunity.
Right. You have to have the strength of character to remain focused on those intervals and when you're getting there. And remember, through the hard times, there are times where we have done, you wouldn't even believe the number of trades that we've done in a single day. And then, there's been a couple of times where it's like you're watching for 14 hours straight and you're hoping for the right position. And so somewhere in between that average, it's way scaled more towards the 2%. It's much higher on average than what we're trying to put out there. We're trying to remain conservative so that people can really actually see that those goals are realistic and can attain them. Especially, as you reach places where you have some holds, and so you have to continue growth while you're waiting on them. It takes a lot of determination, but it's a very exciting process. I wanted to point out a couple of just very quick things before we move beyond the EGC.
Sure.
Just to say that our entire model is based around the EGC, and that was one of the toughest things to test. But we have proven that it does really work the way that we were hoping and that we thought it does. But a lot of people will look at these numbers and they say, gosh, you're making such small moves and you're doing so much work so fast. They might think, well, why do I want to work so hard at, like 100 or 1,000, small profit trades when I could just invest? People are saying, Bitcoin's going to go up $1 gazillion. I could just invest longer term and wait until I get big profits with less effort. And so I have, kind of 3 main things that I absolutely know from the experience of why this is the way to approach, especially to approach crypto. First of all, turning down opportunities. If you were to say, let's say you went in and Bitcoin was at $2,000 and you waited until it went to $4,000. Well, I can almost promise you in that time, it will have gone from 2 down to 1,500, up to 2,200, down to 1,500, up to 2,700. And every single time you're watching the value of that first $2,000 go down and go up and go down and up for months, maybe years. And let's say that you double your money after 2 years. Yeah, you did it one time with one investment. And what are the chances 2 years from now that we're going to have the exact same climate again? So, we're not talking about, taking your 1 Bitcoin and maybe someday you'll have 2. We're saying, grind it out. The first part is the absolute toughest. You're going to take months to learn and apply and follow and trail and, deal with all these things, ask the right questions. And when it starts to double and then double again and double again, that 2 to 4 is, way back there somewhere. We're shooting for much bigger goals, but it is not a get rich quick scheme. It is a labor of passion to get there. And, once again, it should be driven by, first of all, just from the technical side, trying to reach those interval goals, like what he was showing with the spreadsheets. But also that, what good can I do with this? What can I change in my life and other people's lives that would be good. The next thing being the volatility. There is no guarantee that, if in the same example, if I'm wanting to take my $2,000 and double it to 4,000, there's no guarantee that if you wait that out in a long-term investment, that it's going to be what you think it is in a year. It could trade sideways for a little bit and then go way down and go way up. But we've watched, at least 200 different coins do every single thing you can imagine. And a lot of them, will sync perfectly at one time or another with Bitcoin, which means that when it is likely to go up and up and up and up, those are likely to go up as well. Well, you've heard buy low, sell high. You don't want to wait until everything's gone up to say, oh gosh, well, I could have made money again and again and again, but I missed those opportunities. And the third thing being that it's not a direct one-to-one comparison. You actually need those numerous transactions to recirculate your profits time and time again so that the EGC can do what it can do. If you were to do just 2 or 3 big trades, there's very little that you can add into those from the profits to recirculate and make it worth something. But if you take even very small trades with very small profits and do it over and over and over again, you're generating wealth that just simply doesn't exist from any other model. So, if that sounds confusing, don't worry about it. It's not hypothetical because we've tested it. We'll show you the spreadsheets of, every buy and sell at anybody's asking because we're not afraid to show that it works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it does work, guys. Been at this for a long time, in crypto years at least.
It's kind of like pets and human years and dog years.
Exactly, yeah. And cryptocurrency is very young right now. We've rode the hardest curve, drop off in cryptocurrency, and rode that wave without losing a single position, except I think it was one coin that got delisted.
Right. Yeah, we were forced to take a loss because the coin was delisted, and we made up that loss in a day and a half. So we felt actually pretty okay about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's remarkable. So how can you get involved? How can you take advantage of kind of working with us? Well, we want to be a voice of hope and inspiration, leadership, clarity, helping our subscribers, followers to overcome FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And so the very first way that you can overcome that crypto term is through our Market Watch. It's a free subscription. Join any of our social media channels. You can go to Facebook. We're more prolific on YouTube and Twitter, so subscribe, follow us there, or Instagram if that's your shtick. Go to our website, click on this, and head on over to our Market Watch page or blog page there and sign up for our newsletter, okay? Definitely want to help empower you with cutting-edge insights into the crypto world. The next way you can get involved is Forever Free. Now, Forever Free program is really the next level up from our Market Watch because we want to get you into our free but private Slack group, all right? That's where you get to be part of a community, ask questions off one another, help each other out. We're there to help weigh in, monitor that as best we can. But really, where you're going to get to interact with us directly is going to be in our Forever Unlimited program. Now, that is our paid premium membership here. It's $99 a month, except you get free 3 days, and we've got a bonus at the end, so stick around here for a little bit, okay? Limited time webinar offer going on. But this is where you get to watch Gordon make his trades live, real time, and you can mirror his trades. You don't need to know a thing about cryptocurrency or any of these principles we've talked about in order to be successful if you simply just follow what he's doing when he's doing it. So we put those notifications into a private channel in Slack and then kind of build the community that way. So make sure you join up for Forever Unlimited. And the final thing, which is not something we'll probably ever offer again, at least not in the foreseeable future, is a private trading opportunity. If all this is totally confusing to you or you don't have the time but you want to participate in a bigger way, message us privately. You can do so through our Slack channel, through Slack or through any of our social media channels. Send us an email or just go ahead and reply to one of our Market Watch emails. Happy to connect with you there.
Right.
Message us in the webinar even now. That's totally fine. Love to help you with those. Why don't you talk about our bonuses here, Gordon?
Yeah, absolutely. And just as a final point on what you're talking about too, with the our private groups, we want to build a sense of community, and we want it to be something that becomes so exciting to you that you would want to reach out to other people that you think might have the knack for this. With the paid subscription, it's something that is going to, because there's so much time and concentration that goes into this, It's not something that anybody would ever just put out there on YouTube and do 17 hours a day and be able to concentrate and do it perfectly and answer hundreds of questions at the same time. So, the fundamentals of what we're trying to do in our private group, especially the paid subscription, is we want to be able to answer the really deeper questions. People might get nervous about stuff because this, equals money in their brains. So we don't want to hold any secrets back. We'll open up our playbook. I will talk more in depth. Every once in a while we put live day trading out there for free for everybody to see, just so they understand what we're doing. But within our paid subscription, I want to go into every single detail about what's happening with those indicators. What is that instinct that's telling me that something's going to shift or change in a certain direction? Because sometimes, there's going to be little lulls in time, and those are teaching opportunities and teaching moments. So we really, we look forward to building a community around that. And none of this, really, if there's any way to drive home the importance of this stuff, we could just continue doing what we're doing quietly. But when we saw what happened, especially in the last two big drops in the market, a lot of people losing hope and getting really worried about their futures, selling their cars, putting up a second mortgage, lots of serious stuff. They really believe in crypto, but they just kind of didn't know what happened. And we really felt like, gosh, this is getting to that place where this is a real bottom before things bounce back and come way up. And most people have already made the mistake of losing everything. We've got to get in there and start sharing this stuff. We care a little bit too much about what we're seeing on the front lines, reading in the forums and Telegram groups and Discord groups where people are like, these pump and dump things aren't working, and I'm buying these different signals, but I didn't know how to get in and out of it, and all this stuff that just isn't, it's just not helping people, and we actually are going to do more videos on this, but we already have some probably mixed in there with the day trading, where I talk about what kind of scams are out there, what to avoid, and why people can make these crazy false claims about their growth. So, bonus number 1, getting started series. Once you have chosen how you want to get your first crypto, Coinbase or Gemini, you're going to want to set up an account on Binance. It's very easy and quick, but we have created, I believe we have it as a playlist as well, called Binance Basics, where we will show you how to sign up and what it's like to get started for the first time using either their in-browser version or they have a software download version for Mac and PC as well. So we kind of show you not only how to get started, but the differences in the browser and client versions. Bonus 2, Getting Started series, Introduction to Fundamental Trading Principles. We go through all of this stuff that's free. It's stuff that would be in other people's paid training. We'd actually only, make the more advanced versions of those available for our paid members. But this stuff that we offer for free, it walks you through all of this stuff that you would have had to go and know which different Wikipedia searches to do and know whose videos to watch. So we cover an introduction to the charts and the timelines, knowing how to read the value of different coins, how to switch between different coins. We show you exactly which indicators we use, and we give you really more than just the basic introduction to what those indicators mean and how you're supposed to use them, and especially how we use them maybe to our advantage in ways that other people may not be aware of. Bonus number 3, free cryptocurrency altcoin opportunity. Details will be released only in Slack. So yeah, this is also one of those, we talk about pitfalls, but there are so many different scams out there. And so a lot of that stuff is getting shaken loose as, regulation could eventually come in. The SEC kind of watching some of those early ICOs, initial coin offerings that were not legitimate. So a lot of that is working itself out. This is a market that, you'll see words like decentralized and privacy related, all these different things that matter. But we will, whenever we see that there's going to be a new listing, especially, we will try to pass that news directly onto our group, because people will, one of the rookie mistakes that every single person that starts with this stuff makes is when something first gets listed on an exchange, it goes shooting way high. And it's like a classic pump and dump. It might be 10 times more than it's actually worth. And then it comes falling down very quickly. So we'll walk you through those things, and it's a good way to, learn how to not lose money while possibly making money. There are opportunities like Kakashi mentioned earlier, like Steem, STEEM. They have a thing called Steemit, and it's very much like a community that is building around blogs. And there's DTube, Decentralized Tube, that they also do, which is kind of like a blockchain version of YouTube that is growing. And people get paid to create content, to interact. And it's these things that grow up over time that are developing these real true believers, people that really care about this stuff and they believe in the purpose. And I'm kind of believing it too. I'm becoming friends with some of these people. It's very exciting to see it happening. There's a D Live as a decentralized streaming type thing we're actually trying out, putting some of our videos on there. So there's lots of opportunities that will come along. We'll try to sift through those to show you what looks like it could be legit. Things that are called airdrops, where you can get be an early adopter to coins. You can buy in before they're necessarily on a trade, on an exchange. And bonus 4, which Kakashi can tell you about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, we're going to drop a link here in just a second. And that Forever Unlimited program that we mentioned a moment ago, we're doing 50% off for the first 20 subscribers only. Okay. And that's going to be for the first year for those 20 subscribers. After that, it's the normal price, $99 per month. But for right now, for the first 20 people who sign up for Forever Unlimited from this webinar link, they're going to get access to our Forever Unlimited premium program to watch our strategies, trades, trainings in real time for $49 a month. That's it.
That's great. That's like $1.50 a day instead of $3 a day. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really trying to pack the value in there. I mean, listen, guys, you have to do like one trade with us to get your money back. All right. That's like it for a whole month, depending on the type of trade that you do. But if you really put in the time, the work, the effort, we try to make that a no-brainer. We want to empower people with good data because we've just found that there's not a lot of great data out there.
Right.
So I'm going to drop that link in here while Gordon tells us a bit more about why now is the time to get involved in crypto.
Right. Absolutely. So this is that list that we started with towards the beginning. I'm just going to continue forward now. And literally, I mean, I could have an entirely new list today because of the amount of new things that are going on. It's just really
every day. It's crazy.
It is. I mean, it's too much for any one person to even keep up with. It's really quite amazing. So I'm going to fire through the rest of these here. Bitcoin is already in use, proving its concept in the areas it is needed the most, in struggling third world countries and countries where economies are failing or the people are desperate for finding opportunities. They are willing to pay a premium on the underground market to own Bitcoin just to use it for their direct trading with others in the marketplace. And so, I mean, if we are very blessed to be in a country where things are maybe not as critical living situation as other places, if you are living in America or in the European Union and some other places, or you're part of the growing middle class in some of these other countries that are starting to get there out of third world status, you likely have a place to live and you might have transportation and you don't worry about whether you're going to starve to death. So you take more convincing about these types of unprecedented opportunities that come along with something like Bitcoin. The people that need it most, they are willing to risk their freedom, sometimes their lives, to pay way too much more than the market price to find a way to own Bitcoin so that their government isn't tracking every single thing that they do and taking 90% of what they earn. So they already see that blockchain works, Bitcoin works, and it's worth the risk just to own it, to use it. So despite a downtrend in the market, the number of people investing in Bitcoin is growing by an exponential number. And Kakashi was pointing that out too. It is a market that is growing despite what has been, some of the fear, uncertainty, doubt. It continues to grow, and it's growing at a faster rate. That adoption process is starting to begin. The largest outlets where a person can purchase their first cryptocurrencies are hiring large numbers of new employees. Really, I mean, huge amounts of growth, and they're doing rounds of angel investment and venture capital type stuff. They're ramping up for what they do not currently have the capacity to handle. Some of the smaller coin projects that have been hit the worst over the long downtrend, the bear market, are showing their first signs of growth exactly where the technical charts suggest. And there's a couple of really exciting things that I would hope we get some of those true believers becoming a part of our community. We can share these things with. We can show you people are reading some things wrong in the charts. I mean, I promise you, I know I haven't been doing this for 50 years, but I'm looking at things and we have watched what's happening in the news with those days to line up what's happening on the charts. So we understand there have been times where there's just fake news out there, somebody just trying to drive positions in a certain way, and there's other stuff where people are missing what actually happened. We have been watching those things. This, yes, it could go way up and way down, back, all the way back down again. But there's something establishing this kind of acceleration process, and people are starting to say, okay, maybe we'll start to, trust the market again and these kind of things. The legitimate things are taking up more of the market while illegitimate projects people are losing interest in. This is kind of becoming that thing where, I mean, I personally still believe Bitcoin under $7,000 a Bitcoin is a good deal. anything under that threshold. But it would not take a very long time for it to start to double and triple and quadruple, and then it's very tough to buy in beyond that point. If it ever starts to hit the next spike again while mass adoption is happening, while the banks are developing their blockchain, while different governments are losing the game at trying to make it illegal for their citizens to use it, it's just, I can't stress enough, what a huge opportunity this little window in time in history is for us. Yes, so some of this, here we go. Facebook is creating their own coin. Facebook, who has tried to kind of corner the market on saying, keep very hush-hush about cryptocurrency. We don't really want people dealing with it or talking about it too much. Surprise! We're going to make our own. So there's going to be, it's not just about whether their coin itself is actually a success or not. In fact, it may not be fantastic for the market if it is a huge success. But if you think about the billion people that are on Facebook that have not heard of this stuff yet, you can guarantee that whenever there's more news about Facebook launching their own, those people are going to be searching and finding Bitcoin for the first time. More than 17 million of the 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be in circulation is capped at a scarcity model of 21 million that can ever be created or mined or bought. More than 17 million of those already exist and are owned by somebody. Meaning that, at some point in time, even if the market sat exactly where it is right now, and some people are finding it's more and more difficult to mine Bitcoin as it goes along, even when it reaches that 18 million or 19 million point, it becomes a scarcity model. And everybody that's been holding that is not letting go of theirs already, it almost is a guarantee that the price only goes up from there. So scarcity, drives a market when a lot of times other things don't. And when Bitcoin climbs in value, current prices are likely to never, ever, ever return to this low of a value again. It might bounce a couple of times. Nobody is absolutely certain what it does right now, but they do feel very certain that whenever that uptake happens, it's very unlikely that it'll ever be this low again. All of the best altcoins, or coins that are anything other than Bitcoin, they tend to go up in value when they are traded against Bitcoin. Meaning this wonderful electronic thing happening with the digital markets, they're kind of locked in place to the value of Bitcoin. And as much as there will be talk about, will this coin overtake Bitcoin, or will that project overtake Bitcoin? Bitcoin is in the billions and billions of dollars, more than 52% of the market. So it will take tremendous moves beyond what a decade can do for a single coin for any of the alts to overtake that, meaning that unless it's fiat currency, Bitcoin is the main thing you're going to be trading against. So these things tend to go up with Bitcoin, which means that if anybody has watched those huge downturns before, we're actually seeing for the first time, really ever in the marketplace, that some of those coins are coming up to some of their original value. Some of them, there are a couple of them that were on our very small short list of the coins we tend to continuously trade, are the ones that have been rising to the top and actually exceeding where they started, which is, once again, unprecedented. As it becomes increasingly difficult for people to mine those very last Bitcoins or produce the math that helps to generate those last coins, more people are going to be looking for ways to buy, sell, trade, and earn in Bitcoin, meaning that those who already understand how to trade on Binance will be ready for the huge onslaught of new investors. And that's another thing, is that not only is this a window of opportunity where people are going to see, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 as extremely cheap for Bitcoin, but you really want to know how to trade before the crazy happens. I have seen days where Bitcoin's volume on Binance is $500 million, $600 million worth of volume traded in a day in dollars. And most of the time it's sitting around $60, $70, $80 million right now. So if you can imagine, this is before 95% of the world knows what a Bitcoin is. So you want to know how to do this before it gets to that point. There's never, ever, ever going to be an opportunity like this again. This isn't something that comes along in our lifetimes. It really isn't. And the last point, I mentioned this earlier, but it's just the final thing to keep in mind. Wall Street's calling this an entirely new asset class. The closest thing that they can tie it to is gold. And so we talk about it not as much a currency as it is a store of value. And gold is finite. Bitcoin is finite. But right now on your computer, you can't go and grab a piece of gold. I mean, you can, but physically, you'd have to purchase a coin and wait for it to arrive, or you can purchase an imaginary account that is valued or stored based on gold. But with Bitcoin, you literally can generate the value out of it literally right now. So we're pushing the idea that we actually want this to be the crypto revolution that is a we the people, in people's hands. You don't want to wait for what's coming. Even towards the end of this month, it might start to happen. But as the months roll in, we don't want to wait around to see what the banks and financial institutions and governments do to lead to mass adoption. We want to be the mass adoption. And that can be millions of people doing hundreds or thousands of dollars, whatever they have to work with to learn how to trade. Mass adoption equals liquidity. Liquidity, the ability to buy and sell. And if you increase that capability, you are creating something fantastic out of, something that it's either going to be us or you wait for the Starbucks and the Microsofts and all these different things that are entering. IBM is entering in. You want to be in on the ground level and to be a part of this movement. So mass adoption equals liquidity. Liquidity comes from trading cryptocurrencies on a legitimate exchange, and we choose Binance.
And on that, guys, hopefully you found a lot of help from this. We want to thank you. We want to be respectful for everyone's time. Been answering some chat questions here. And so thank you for those who are continuing to come on in. Send them to us on our social media channels as well. Once again, you can see that little link up here at the top, Kate, Archangel Alts. And we want you to head on over there. And I just went to the very last page. So anyways,
Absolutely.
But yeah, head on over to archangelalts.com, EGC webinar, EGC-webinar. Thank you everybody so much for being here on this call. Go out and do your own exponential growing, but just know that you will get there much faster if you do it with a seasoned guide like Gordon Freeman with Archangel Alts.
Thank you guys so much. So I'll make sure that I'm set up properly here. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to check real quick and see if there's any live chat questions going on right now. And I know our antivirus popped up with wanting to do an update somewhere in there. So I'll probably will come to another live stream very shortly, sometime probably the next 24 hours. And in the meantime, just please stay with us, sign up. If you're on YouTube, make sure and subscribe, ring the bell, comment, thumbs up, and stay in touch with us. We love hearing from you guys. Come join our community. Just use the webinar link that we've shown you throughout the day, and we will get in touch with you, and we'll join you into our free community. You can join the paid community, and you still get the first 3 days for free. Ask questions. We'll cover specific things that are the most beneficial to you. So thank you so much. And I'm going to check this real quick, so just hold on one moment. And let me get this set up. Alright, so it looks like everything is set. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. And for now, Archangel Alts out.